Hi, partners. Here is the story of a patriot who was there at the right time. He was a soldier whose name was Ira Hamilton Hayes. He was born in 1923, that's the year I was born, but he was on an American Indian reservation and earned the place in American history during the Second World War. Now, before I go any further, I think it might be a right time to remind our younger viewers about just how sad things were getting during the final year of the war. Our GIs were not doing well in the Pacific. The Japanese were a very tough enemy, and all the Japanese, even the civilians, said they would fight to the death. Can you imagine what it must have been like for the average United States soldier to be fighting in that Pacific? Morale was at a low point. What we Americans needed was a shot in the arm with something that would revitalize our morale and help us lead the way to final victory. Well, we got that shot in the arm in February of 1945. A young Associated Press photographer named Joe Rosenthal was with a group of Marines on the island of Iwo Jima. Now, Rosenthal was there when a small group of Marines raised the flag on a small hill that was the highest point on the island. Rosenthal sent that photograph back to the Associated Press headquarters here in the United States. Well, they sent it out everywhere, and within hours, nearly every newspaper in the free world had it full size on the front page of the latest editions. Jimmy, how could one photograph be that important? Well, I'm glad you asked. You always do. You see, that single photograph did more to raise the morale of Americans and others around the world at a vital time in our history than anything you could possibly imagine. Our honoree was one of those Marines holding that flag. Hang on now, keep listening. The Japanese finally surrendered 7 months later. Now, after the war, Ira Hayes and the 5 other flag raisers were taken on a national tour. They went from city to city. People showed up by the millions to see these soldiers. But sadly, Ira Hayes didn't take his fame very well. He had been raised on an Indian reservation in isolation. He was an incredibly modest man. He told friends he didn't like being famous. He just wanted to live a private life away from the spotlight. Soon, to drown his sorrows and fears, he began to drink. Well, he finally did fade into obscurity. Then he began to feel badly because people had forgotten about him. Sadly, Ira Hayes ranks among the greatest of American heroes just because of that photograph on Iwo Jima. A decade after Iwo Jima, Hayes was totally forgotten. One night in 1955, he drank too much and died of alcohol poisoning. But when the word of his death was announced by the media, there was a groundswell of appreciation in America. The cry went out, "Ira Hayes must be buried with honors at Arlington Cemetery." Well, on the day of his burial, his funeral procession went by that incredible bronze statue of Hayes and his 5 comrades raising that flag. That statue is officially known as the Marine Corps Memorial. It had been completed just months before Hayes' death. And partners, here's something to tie all of this together. During the 20 years that my researcher and writer Dennis Daly lived in Washington, D.C., he lived just 2 blocks from that memorial. Well, one day Dennis was walking along and he walked over to that huge monument and found a young man crying. This young fellow told Dennis that his basement was full of smaller versions of the statue, some only a few feet tall. Now here's a quote. "This is the first time I have really stared at the real thing," the young man said. Then it said, "Who are you? Who are you?" He said, "I am Daniel D. Weldon. Daniel D. Weldon. My dad made this statue." His dad's name is Felix D. Weldon. "Even though I live here in Washington, D.C., this is the first time I have really spent any time here." You see, partners, had Ira Hamilton Hayes not been with those 5 other Marines when the photographer Rosenthal snapped that picture, we never would have even known his name. If we need proof of this, let me ask you, who were the other 5 Marines in that picture? Ha ha, yeah, enough said. By the way, this young man, Daniel D. Weldon, is now an award-winning actor, and his acting style is being compared to Marlon Brando. Yes, lately, this young D. Weldon has been producing movies and plays. He's even going to portray his father in a film to be called Monumental. Wow. Daniel D. Weldon and Jimmy Weldon. No relation, no relation. But all of this was about Ira Hayes, the Native American in a photograph that helped rally a nation in one of the darkest hours because he was there at the right time. Yes, being there at the right time. Let's not forget his name, Ira Hayes. That's it, Ira Hayes, Ira Hamilton Hayes. Well, partners, you know the drill. Look up there and click that box with the red X in it. You'll whiz right back to my report page where you were when you clicked the link to come here in the first place and here see the rest of my comments. Yeah, it's really a kind of magic. Think about it. Being at the right place at the right time made this guy an international hero. I love you. Go get 'em, Tigers!